What's going on, people? It's your boy 3MG, representing 3MG Nation, back here with another video. And today I'm going to discuss the term AAA game, AAA, and the origins and why and just everything about AAA. What's to be considered a AAA title or whatnot. Now, as I looked up some information online, I read that, the term AAA basically is something that's high quality, high commercial budgets, something that's to be expected, or something that's expected to be an excellent title along the years of gaming or whatnot. So all this, that's why like games like Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed, Destiny, 2K and Madden, like all these games are considered to be AAA, right? Well, if it's because they use big budget costs and stuff like that, a game that's so expected to be one of the greatest. Now, a lot of these games are trash. So I'm like, should it still be considered a AAA? Because AAA is supposed to be high rated, right? So as I've read online and did a lot of research and whatnot, maybe not have been the most accurate information. I'm still gonna link everything in the description if you guys want to take a look. I've read that the origin of it was taking place back in North America, when North American video game industry kind of crashed back in 1983 because of poor developed games and whatnot, and just the amount of games that was releasing that was just trash, poorly developed, bugged out. And people nowadays are trying to say that there weren't that as much bugs and shit like that in games back then. Yes, there were actually, which is why I went back and looked up some information, because I found it to be not fair that games like Rocket League, or at the time Minecraft or H1Z1, or all these games that were developed with low budget costs or indie games can't be considered to be AAAs now, because of the fact that they revenued so much money. They were highly anticipated. They became excellent games. They became big games. You know what I mean? So when I looked up online, I read that in 1983, of course, the North American game industry kind of crashed. And they needed, companies needed to find a way where the audience can still trust their companies with games and stuff like that. And Nintendo was one of the first companies to come out with the seal of quality, seal of approval, which I know a lot of us knows. It was a little gold thing that was put on their games to distinguish a good title from a bad title, so that people can see like, okay, this was a high quality game and had no bugs, it had no defects. That was Nintendo's motto. Now, that was a way for people to see whether or not that was a good game and to see whether or not it was a bad game. And it actually did very well for Nintendo, because every game that came out after that, whether if it was from Sega or from another company, when they didn't see a seal of approval, a seal of quality, it was like, okay, I don't trust it. AAA then came into play, I guess, years later or whatnot, or even at the time, to distinguish the same thing, a good title from a bad title. But are we going backwards? Because some of the games that we're labeling AAA now are fucking trash. And I mean, this wasn't to say that the game was going to be good, but not only is it trash, but there's a lot of bugs. A lot of games are incomplete. A lot of games are broken. So when I see games like Street Fighter come out, wasn't Street Fighter a AAA? So Street Fighter is broken in certain ways with server issues and all this other extra stuff, lack of content. You got freaking Assassin's Creed that's almost the same game every year. Now they pushed it another year and it was bugged the hell out. Game is glitched out. Remember when Battlefield 4 came out, another AAA game? That game was unplayable for a couple months. Remember when the SimCity game came out? It was unplayable for like the first year. I mean, that wasn't to be an expected AAA game, but you get the point that I'm trying to say. Even with Call of Duty, games that are just incomplete or have bugs or have exploits, stuff like that in that nature, we still consider AAA games. Now, you can argue, you can debate with me, and that's fine. I'm going based off of the information I looked up and read about, because I was so interested to see why is it when I have a conversation with people, and it doesn't bother me, like I said, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I mean, I respect everybody's opinion, of course. But when I see the reach that some people go, I'm just like, bro, you don't understand. It doesn't even matter to me the budget cost, the commercial promotions, the amount of money that was spent in development and everything for this to be considered a AAA game. It's not considered excellent. It's actually bare bones. Some of the games are broken as hell, like 2K and Madden. You have a bunch of games that don't get the recognition it deserves. For one thing, I would consider a AAA game like Dying Light, right? I mean, whether or not a lot of money was put into that game, because like I said, AAA, you can go so many different ways with its definition, because when I read up on it, there's a lot that goes into it. But Dying Light was an underrated game that was really good. You know what I mean? It was a really good game, and still to this day, even with the expansion, it's a really good game. Destiny in which had its ups and downs and hiccups. I'm hearing now that a lot of people had a fallout, is having a fallout right now, but that's considered to be a AAA game because they have $500 million in development or whatever, in promotions or whatever, advertisements to help the game's funding. I don't see why games like Rocket League, like I said, H1Z1, and I guess you could say Minecraft now is obviously a AAA game. It revenue billions of dollars. You know what I'm saying? Rocket League is doing numbers right now. Rocket League is so beast right now, making money right now. These small development studio games is doing it. So that game should have its respect. It's really good, and it's, I guess, not that much bugs or whatnot. It's a really solid game. That game should be considered a AAA. Games like Batman Arkham Knight, the release on that was so fucked up across all platforms. I don't want to hear you say, oh, but you know, it wasn't, I didn't experience issues. No. A game like that, with the amount of budgeting and everything and the money put into that game and commercials and all that, and studios being on sports commercials, all that, for a game to release like that, do you still consider that AAA? Why? Because it's a Batman game and the previous Batman games are good? That's my argument. Like, it feels like they went backwards to why it originally started with the seal of approval and the games and the quality in AAA, and then now it's like these games that were out from years ago, which were very good games, are now coming out becoming more fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Excuse my language, but more messed up. And it's like that game was just poorly developed. You know, PC had a terrible time. What about Mortal Kombat X when it first released? Get what I'm saying? Like, what happened? You know what I mean? So that was my whole thing. So with AAA games, I find it just, you know, it's not right, you know, and I do consider some indie games AAA. That's my opinion, because whether or not there was hundreds of millions of dollars put into the game, but if it's revenued, if it put out numbers, if it made a lot of money back, if it's a solid game, and if it's really being out there, if it's being acknowledged by the public, such as H1Z1, Rocket League, and there's probably a bunch of other games, I'm gonna consider that game AAA. It deserves the respect that it has, it deserves the respect, period. And like I said, a lot of these other games that we got, Watch Dogs, we've gotten over the years, we got in the WWE games. We've gotten freaking UFC 1, which was bugged out in the beginning. We've gotten a bunch of games that you're like, okay, Call of Duty, Ghost, like all these games were like, okay, these were considered to be AAAs or contenders of AAAs, or like, what is it? Like, it's like they fell back, they went backwards, and they're just accepting whatever it is just because the studio and their library and their franchise back then. So I mean, that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think on AAAs, the definition of term. Please, like I said, this is just my opinion, what I looked up online. What we can debate on this, I don't mind. Just let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. What is your take on it? How do you feel about AAAs? What is considered your AAA title or whatnot, based on the information I provide? I'll put the links in the description though. It's your boy 3G, representing 3G Nation. I'm out of here. Peace.